All right, Colby, let's take a look at your essay. Um, there. So we're going to start with the introduction. I did put this into double space format, so it's a little bit easier for me to go through your essay with you. So starting with the introduction, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a lot going on, and I think you need to pull some things out, reword some things, and um, get your introduction on the right path. So let's start with your hook. Many people can overact, but some overact by a lot. Hysteria is how we respond to emotion. It is uncontrollable, almost like overreacting on steroids. So there's a few things here. The first is you don't have a comma before the word but, and because but is one of those coordinating conjunctions you always need a comma before. With that in mind, I'm also not sure about the almost like overacting on steroids because that is such a bold claim. And because you don't explain it, I would say this is not a good way to get, or to, this is not a good way to have this in your introduction. And the reason I say that is because when I think of personally, and I know this is, if you look at popular culture, these are the depictions of people with overreacting on steroids. They're in complete physical crap in terms of their body changing in a particular way, which if that's where you're going, they can convulse or whatever. And maybe that's what you're going with that. But the most common thing I see with people who overtake on steroids or overreact, that is just straight up roid rage, which is very different than I think what hysteria is. So if you're going to make a claim like this, you need to explain it a little bit more. And you talk about this can be bad in groups of people as shown in the Crucible, which was many young women responding to fear. This is a little bit awkward if you say that out loud. Which was many young women responding to fear. It's just a little bit awkward, but you are right in the sense of the exaggerated details. I don't know if about until it almost did not seem true. I mean, I guess with the spectral stuff, but you also have to remember these are things the Puritans believed in. Um, they did believe in some of these certain things. And then it's not, you're right, it's not the only case that hysteria has been passed on. Even modern day people can have hysteria. With evolution media, it appears hysteria can spread fast. So I think there's an okay transition with how media gets involved and it helps people spread it quicker. I've been telling a lot of people you don't necessarily need the crucible in the introduction. I don't know if that's just because you've been all been taught to do this where you have an essay after you read a book, so you've got to mention that book right away in the introduction, which it's a good thing to introduce it, but a lot of times what I'm noticing is you are all using examples with it, but you really want to save the examples for your body paragraph. So I'm not sure how that's been addressed in the past for you, but overall, I think you need to connect some of these ideas here. The hook could be improved, and then hysteria is more potent with the presence of media. Um, that's your thesis, so that's fine. But this is where I'm confused on. And there was without media because people had to have a reason to have hysteria. I don't know what this means because people had to have a reason to have hysteria. So I don't know if this is you trying to say that um, hysteria now only exists because the media starts it. I'm not sure what you're saying here. I don't know if Siri just went through my mic, but anytime I say hysteria, half the time my phone thinks I'm saying Siri. But anyways, oops. Anyways, as I was getting at that, I think you just need to improve the thesis a little bit more by making it specific. Because, and then as we move into this, mass hysteria is more potent with the media because people need to know what the bad event is. So this, I'm not sure what the topic sentence indicates what the paragraph will be about right away. It's more potent with media because people need to know what the bad event is. And the reason I say this is because the pushback I'm giving you is for Salem witchcraft and the witch trials, they didn't need media to know what the bad event is. But when you're talking about this example here, effects of hysteria, the mind can make the body sick. This cannot. This cannot is supposed to be one word. Give me a second. I'm going to pause the recording before I get back into this. All right, so I'm not exactly sure where I left off with where I was talking because I paused the video when I went through the body paragraph a little bit more. And I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to get at with this body paragraph. So the effects of hysteria, saying the mind can make the body sick. This cannot be correct because of stress. So you're saying that the mind doesn't. I guess I'm not sure what you're saying because stress is part of the mind, and he says it could be sick. But then, are you saying that this can't be correct because stress doesn't make us physically sick? I'm not really sure what you're saying, and I don't know if you're missing a word or what here, but something's missing there. And then right here, the most common stress people have are from the media, whether it be reputation on media or cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, and this is the wrong this is a homophone concern. You mean IT apostrophe S because that is it is, but you want to spell it out as it is because you don't want contractions. I am not sure I agree with this, and I'm not sure if you're getting this from a source, and that's why I need to push back on it because I do not recall reading this in the reading that the most common that we all get stress from the media. Because I mean, on a personal level, I'm reading this saying my stress does not come from media, and I'm trying to recall where in the articles this was, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. So this right here is a little hodgepodging. It's just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Hypothetical. But as you transition into here, hysteria can happen without media, but are more potent with media, stated in Tim Unkenholtz's. And this is what's interesting. I was looking at your previous version. You had put apostrophe S here because it is possessive. It's his document, his article, and then you got rid of it. So I don't know why you got rid of it there. But anyways, he states on number 4, writing tremor epidemic, that the cases of the first one affected. This should be AFF. It affected. That's being used as a verb, so you want to use affected. 16 kids. The next 2 cases had 47 kids combined after hearing stories of the first outbreak. So a few writing notes here. When you refer to authors, I'm not going to ding you on this part, but typically you just want to refer to them by their last name. So you could say, Unkenholtz states, maybe, how do I word this? I know the article talks about lists this as number 4, but to a reader who hasn't looked at this article, states on number 4, writing tremor epidemic, this means nothing to me. The number 4 has no significance. So you should just say, he brings up the writing tremor epidemic, and you want to explain what it is because you're just saying this epidemic happened and it affected 16 kids and then it affected 47. So be cognizant of that because we as a reader have no idea what this epidemic is. And with this stuff in the middle, I'm not sure what is going on. So, and even with your topic sentence, we need to know what the bad event is. It doesn't quite explain some of the things that did not have media, and you need to be prepared for that, where I know you're pushing your point, which is what I need to do, but part of the problem with that is there's almost the implication that mass hysteria nowadays, what you're saying is that it's only started through the media, and I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but it's just the phrasing isn't great in that regard. Alright, and then as we move to your next body paragraph, I'm going to say that this one is a little bit better, because I think you're on a better topic sentence with examples. Again, get rid of this stuff right here. You don't need number 14 and listed as the 14th example. You don't quite need that. So for example, not that you should ever do this, but this is just hypothetical because I know they publish this. If you had a BuzzFeed article that has a list of like 100 things, and you put something in the realm of the 100 and 100th entry on the list. You don't need to put that. You can just use that example, but please do never, never, ever, ever put BuzzFeed in a research paper. Anyways, where was I going with that? You talk about these children and how this affected them, and suggest that the media can play a role in the amount and severeness, get rid of the of, and severeness of an episode of hysteria. So this is all good because you're talking about how through the form of media we have exposure to hysteria and people are replicating what they see. So that is okay there. What I think you could do to make it better is split up this with the Pokemon and put analysis after each one. Because you do have two different things here. You have the first part, the former, which is about replicating a disease, and the latter, excuse me, my voice cracked. The latter, which is about a reaction to it. So there's replication and reaction I'm seeing here. But then here, case that media did not exist. I think you mean a case where media did not exist. I don't know why you're bringing this up here, because it's not relevant to your case. And then obviously the severeness and legitness increased as media does. I would argue that people being executed for being witches would be an example of something pretty severe. So you need to think of a way to bring this up, and versus something here where people are faking reports. Maybe if you say something about how these examples affected more people than the previous examples, if you make that clear, then this would work if you specifically mentioned there were only 4 people. Now here's the thing I have to ding you on. Legitness comes from the popularized popular culture video from Vine. The word that does not work in a formal paper. Legitimateness. Or sorry, hold on. Give me a second. The correct word would be legitimacy. Legitness comes from Vine, does not work. So I've got 3 minutes. Let me go through your last body paragraph and your conclusion. Many people say that hysteria is happening before media, such as cases such as Salem witch trials, but media do not play any role to further impacting other people or increase of severeness. Seen in Crucible, media is not used, but people like not Marion Warren, made a line for some political or social reasoning. Media was involved, we would have had other examples of towns. Although Salem was a big deal, did not spread. It was said to be alive at the beginning of the new century. So this one, you do refute it a little bit, but you do it with hypotheticals, and you need specific evidence and examples to support your claim. You need that with your opposition, where you do have it with the Crucible, but again, the way you have it worded is a little bit awkward, because many people will say that hysteria was happening before media, which is true. It was happening, but the way you're writing is that it's not as big of a deal because media makes it a bigger deal. So be cognizant of how you're wording that. And then you need a specific example. Again, you need to throw in a specific example that supports your claim that it's media. Then we get to your conclusion. Media is very potent in the creation of mass hysteria because people needed a reason to be frightened, and because more people heard about it with media. Without media, the impact on people was very minimal, maybe in a small town, but never spread. You need a comma there. With media, the people influence can skyrocket to above 10,000 or even more. The documents should have shown that media plays a role in mass hysteria. So I think your conclusion is okay. I think throughout your body paragraphs, you need a little bit more analysis that's tied in with the evidence. I think your writing right now is making it a little bit confusing on where exactly your position is with this. But your analysis evidence could be improved, and the things I've talked about and said, take that into consideration, because I would say you can definitely do a rewrite with this. But overall, I think the main thing is to kind of clear up some loose ends where it doesn't flow as well together, and those things I've talked about with you, and that should hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to move forward.